Hey, what's up, guys? So I was watching a video the other day about the most underpaid players on each NBA team. And then I thought to myself, who the highest paid player on each NBA team was. And so I thought I'd make a video about it. So here's the highest paid player on each NBA team. Let's get it. So starting off the list with the Atlanta Hawks, we got Kent Bazemore coming in at $16.9 million per year at 4 years, $70 million contract. And honestly, I think he's a little bit overpaid for what he can do. And coming at a close second is Dennis Schroeder with 15.5 million, and honestly I think he deserves that money more than Kent Bazemore. Next up is the Boston Celtics. The number one highest paid player on the Boston Celtics is Gordon Hayward. This doesn't come as a surprise because he's a phenomenal player. He makes $29.7 million per year on a 4-year, $127.8 million contract. The Brooklyn Nets highest paid player is Allen Crabbe. He makes $19.3 million per year on a 4-year, $74.8 million contract. To me, this is a little bit overpaid, but honestly, the Brooklyn Nets don't really have anything going for them right now. Dwight Howard is the highest paid player on the Charlotte Hornets, coming in at $23.5 million per year on a 3-year, $70.5 million contract. Dwight Howard's getting a little washed up, and honestly, this is a little bit overpaid, but he did revive his career a little bit this season, but overall, I still think he's overpaid. The Chicago Bulls don't really got anything going for them, but Robin Lopez is the highest paid player at $13.8 million per year on a 4-year, $54 million contract. I hope Chicago can land someone huge with all that money saved up because they're my team. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, it's no surprise, it's the king, it's LeBron James. He comes in with $33.3 million per year on a 3-year, $99.9 million contract. He might even be the first ever active player to have a net worth of $1 billion. For the Dallas Mavericks, it's Harrison Barnes with $23.1 million per year on a 4-year, $94.4 million contract. With Dirk taking a pay cut and Chandler Parsons basically disappearing, it comes in at no surprise that Harrison Barnes is the highest paid player on the Mavericks. Paul Millsap is the highest paid player on the Denver Nuggets with $30.8 million per year on a 2-year, $61 million contract. Now this is a fat contract for Paul Millsap because I do think it's a bit overpaid, but honestly Paul Millsap is a phenomenal player and could argue that he is worth the money. Blake Griffin is the highest paid player on the Detroit Pistons with $29.5 million per year on a 5-year, $171.2 million contract. Now Blake Griffin I do believe is worth the money, but he is a bit injury prone, but I think it comes as no surprise that he is the highest paid player on the Pistons. For the Golden State Warriors, he needs no introduction. It's Chef Curry, cooking in $34.7 million per year on a 5-year, $201.2 million contract. He's the highest paid player in all of the NBA and is honestly worth every cent as he is revolutionizing the game forever. For the Houston Rockets, it's the Beard, James Harden, coming in at $28.3 million per year on a 4-year, $118 million contract. I would even argue that he is worth more as he is an MVP candidate, and I think he will win MVP for the 2017-2018 season. For the Indiana Pacers, it's Victor Oladipo with $21 million per year on a 4-year, $85 million contract. He is the best player on the Indiana Pacers, and I think this is a good value for him. For the Los Angeles Clippers, it's DeAndre Jordan with $22.6 million per year on a 4-year, $87.6 million contract. The Clippers don't really got anything going on for them, and I think this is a good value for him. For the other LA team, the Lakers, it's Brook Lopez with $22.6 million per year on a 3-year, $63.5 million contract. Now Brook Lopez is still a good player, but he is declining and he is a bit overvalued. For the Memphis Grizzlies, it's Mike Conley with an obscure $28.5 million per year on a 5-year, $152.6 million contract. Now this one kind of hurts me because Mike Conley is a good player, but this is way overvalued for what he can do. For the Miami Heat, it's Hassan Whiteside with $23.8 million per year on a 4-year, $98.4 million contract. I think this is a good value for him, and I'm excited to see his growth in the near future. For the Milwaukee Bucks, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo with $22.5 million per year on a 4-year, $100 million contract. I do think his value is worth more, and I do believe he'll get paid the big bucks later on. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, it's Jeff Teague with $19 million per year on a 3-year, $57 million contract. We all know that Jimmy Butler is the best player, but Jimmy Butler signed the contract before the big extension came out. And honestly, I think Jeff Teague is worth his value, or it could be argued maybe a little bit overpaid, but overall I think it's a good contract. This one comes as a little surprise with Drew Holiday for the New Orleans Pelicans at $24.9 million per year on a 5-year, $131.8 million contract. Anthony Davis obviously should be getting paid the most, but Drew Holiday for this value is pretty good as well. As you can see, he's tearing up Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum in the first round of the playoffs. For the New York Knicks, it's Enes Kanter with $20.6 million per year on a 4-year $70.1 million contract. We all know the unicorn should be getting paid the most, but Kanter has been showing flashes that he could be a stud for the New York Knicks, and honestly $20.6 million per year could be a good value. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, it's Russell Westbrook with $28.5 million per year on a 3-year $85.6 million contract, and rightfully so. He is worth every penny, and honestly the biggest surprise for me comes from Paul George, who is the 4th highest paid player in the Oklahoma City Thunder at $19 million per year. For the Orlando Magic, it's tied at Bismack Biyombo and Evan Fournier at $17 million per year on a 4-year $72 million contract for Biyombo and a 5-year $85 million contract for Fournier. These are both two young players, and honestly I could see this being a future investment. For the Philadelphia 76ers, it's JJ Redick with a 1-year $23 million per year deal. He is honestly the best veteran on this team, and all the best players on the 76ers are all young and probably still on their rookie contracts. For the Phoenix Suns, it's Brandon Knight with $13.6 million per year on a 5-year $70 million contract. There was once a time where Brandon Knight looked like he was going to be a good player in this league, but nowadays he kind of just disappeared. For the Portland Trail Blazers, it comes as no surprise, it's Dame Dollar, Damian Lillard with $26.2 million per year on a 5-year $139.9 million contract. For the Sacramento Kings, it's Zach Randolph with $12.3 million per year on a 2-year $24 million deal. He is the lowest highest paid player out of any NBA team, and honestly with all the money saved up, the Sacramento Kings will find a way to screw it up with their front office. For the San Antonio Spurs, it's LaMarcus Aldridge with $21.5 million per year on a 4-year $84.1 million contract. We all know that Kawhi should be the highest paid player on the San Antonio Spurs, but overall I think this is a good value for Aldridge as he is a machine at the mid-range. Kyle Lowry comes in for the Toronto Raptors at $28.7 million per year on a 3-year $100 million contract. Now Kyle Lowry is a good regular season player, but honestly I don't think he's worth the money because he always chokes in the playoffs. For the Utah Jazz, it's Rudy Gobert with $21.2 million per year on a 4-year $102 million contract. He is definitely worth the money and a future investment for sure. He's the future of centers and he's a defensive monster. Lastly, we got the Washington Wizards with Otto Porter at $24.8 million per year on a 4-year $106.5 million contract. Honestly, Bradley Beal and John Wall should be getting paid more, but they signed their contracts before the extension happened and Otto Porter just so happened to sign it during that time. That's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed the content. Please like, share, subscribe, comment down below on what you want to see in future videos, and hopefully I'll see you in the next.